It started like one of those Saturdays where the world finally lets you breathe again. The sun was sharp but not cruel, bouncing off the rows of cars in the Crestwood Mall parking lot, the air buzzing with the lazy rhythm of shoppers pushing carts and kids running ahead of their parents. For Lena Carter, that light felt like a reward. 6 months earlier, she was drowning under stacks of legal briefs and case files. Now she was finally standing in front of something she could call her own. A brand new car, midnight blue, her first real indulgence after clawing her way up to become an assistant U.S. attorney. She ran her hand over the hood and just smiled. For once in her life, it felt like all those late nights and student loans were worth it. 2 rows over, Officer Daniel Royce sat in his cruiser chewing on resentment like it was gum that wouldn't lose its flavor. 15 years on the force, but what did he have to show for it? Yesterday, his captain told him he was too aggressive. Said he acted like every driver was a nail and he was the hammer. Cool it down, the captain warned. Those words played in his head like a bad song he couldn't turn off. Daniel didn't think he was aggressive. He thought he was the only one who actually did the job. What he needed was a clean bust, something to shut everybody up. And right on cue, the radio crackled. A caller reporting a possible stolen car. New shiny blue with paper tags. That was all he needed to hear. His eyes swept the lot until they caught on Lena's Lexus gleaming like a jewel. His pulse quickened. This was it. His chance. He flipped on the siren lights, flashing red and blue across the asphalt. Lena, confused but calm, pulled over immediately. She wasn't speeding, had nothing to hide. Registration in the glove box, bill of sale in her purse. Just a nuisance stop, she thought. But the way Roy stalked up to her window, hand resting on his gun, like it was itching for an excuse that told her this wasn't just a nuisance. He leaned down, shadow falling over her face. This your car? His tone wasn't a question, it was an accusation. Yes, officer, Lena answered evenly. Hands on the wheel like she'd seen in too many courtroom videos. I just bought it last week. Is there a problem? Roy sneered. Yeah, there's a problem. Matches the description of a stolen vehicle. Step out. Her mind clicked into prosecutor mode, cataloging every misstep, every violation. No probable cause. No request for license or registration. This wasn't procedure. It was harassment. She kept her voice calm. I have the bill of sale right here if you'll allow me. I'm not allowing you anything except getting out of the damn car. He barked, red blotches creeping up his neck. She felt the tension rising the way a room feels seconds before a glass shatters. Officer, you don't have the grounds to order me out. You're making a mistake. That word mistake set him off. He yanked the door open, the metallic crack echoing across the lot. Shoppers turned their heads, frozen between curiosity and fear. Royce grabbed her shoulder and arm, dragging her out in one violent motion. Her hips slammed against the door frame, pain sparking white in her vision. What are you doing? She gasped. You think you're smart? You think you can play games with me? He shouted, slamming her back against the car. His forearm pressed against her throat, the pressure cutting off air. The world narrowed to black spots and the pounding in her ears. Somewhere on the edge of her vision, she saw Frank the mall's elderly security guard shuffle off his cart and raise a hand. Officer, hey, take it easy, he said, voice trembling but firm. She doesn't look like she's causing trouble. You need to let her go. Mind your own damn business, old man, Royce roared, shoving Frank so hard he toppled backward, skull smacking the pavement with a crack that made the crowd gasp. That sound, like a branch snapping, changed everything. Phones came out, a dozen little glowing eyes recording every second. Royce didn't notice, too lost in his own fury. Spit flew as he screamed in Lena's face, calling her trash, a thief, someone who thought she was better than him. His forearm pressed harder. Her lungs screamed for air. She clawed at his sleeve, panic rising like ice water flooding her chest. But somewhere inside, the prosecutor in her was still awake, whispering statutes, keeping her tethered to something other than fear. Assault, unlawful restraint, deprivation of rights. She knew what he was guilty of, even as she fought for breath. Her purse lay spilled on the asphalt near her foot. Inside it, her credentials. The one card that might stop this. She let her right arm go slack, sliding it down her side, fingers stretching until they brushed leather. She fumbled the clasp, strength fading, vision going dark. Finally, she gripped the rectangular case and yanked it out, holding it up between them. Her voice came out a rasp. Last chance. Let go. Royce glanced down and laughed, harsh and ugly. Trying to bribe me. What's that cash? But when she flipped it open, the laughter died in his throat. Staring back at him wasn't money. It was the golden eagle of the United States Department of Justice. Her photo, her name, the words Assistant U.S. Attorney, Civil Rights Division. For a heartbeat silence. Then the color drained from his face. His arm dropped like it had been burned. The predator vanished, leaving only a man who looked suddenly small, terrified. "Oh, God," he stammered. I didn't know. The call said the radio had static. I thought the excuses spilled out like water from a broken dam, useless and pathetic. Around them, every phone stayed up, capturing his collapse. Lena steadied herself on the hood, throat raw, chest heaving, but her eyes never left him. With shaking fingers, she pulled out her phone, scrolled to the number she knew by heart, and pressed call. It rang once, twice. Harris, a deep voice, answered. "Chief Harris, this is Lena Carter. One of your officers, Daniel Royce, just assaulted me and an elderly security guard. He accused me of stealing my own car. I'm in the Crestwood Mall parking lot. There are dozens of witnesses and videos." The silence on the other end was thunderous. "Then I'm 5 minutes away. Don't let him leave." When she lowered the phone, her voice carried clear and strong across the lot. "The chief of police is on his way." Royce's face crumpled. Whatever tiny hope he had left evaporated. 5 minutes later, sirens split the air. Two patrol cars and a black sedan screeched to a halt, boxing him in. Chief Harris stepped out, tall and furious eyes scanning the red marks on Lena's neck before locking onto Royce. "Badge, gun, now." His voice was ice. Royce's hands trembled as he unclipped the badge, cleared his weapon, and handed them over. A young officer stepped forward, cuffs clicking shut around the wrists of the man who just moments ago thought he owned the world. The crowd stayed silent, phones recording the fall of a man who believed his uniform made him untouchable. The videos went viral before sunset. National headlines, endless debates. Royce wasn't just a bad cop anymore. He was the face of police brutality. The Justice Department indicted him under federal law for deprivation of rights. The trial was swift. With a mountain of video evidence and over 20 witnesses, including Frank, who thankfully survived with only a concussion, Royce had no choice but to plead guilty. In the courtroom, Lena sat in the front row, not as a prosecutor, but as the victim. Royce, in a cheap suit instead of a uniform, mumbled through apologies about stress and bad days. The judge wasn't moved. "You didn't have a bad day, Mr. Royce. You showed us who you are. You were given a badge to protect your community. Instead, you used it to terrorize one of its citizens. You are a disgrace to the uniform." The sentence landed like a hammer: 2 years in federal prison, a $100,000 fine paid to Lena and Frank. And beyond him, the fallout reached his entire department. A federal investigation uncovered a culture that protected aggressive officers, sweeping reforms imposed under court order. One man's rage brought down the system that enabled him. For Lena, there was no triumph in watching him led away in cuffs again, this time as a convict. Just a quiet certainty that justice, though slow and painful, had worked. She returned to her office weeks later with a deeper resolve, carrying her own case file as a reminder of why the fight mattered. Sometimes the sight of a police cruiser still made her chest tighten, but it also sharpened her purpose. She had lived the fear her clients described, and she had survived. And maybe that's the real lesson, that a badge is not a license for cruelty. That in an age where every bystander holds a camera, there is no hiding from the truth. And that one moment of abuse, one act of arrogance can topple an entire career and force a department to change. So now I'll ask you, what do you think was justice served here, or was 2 years too light for what he did? Have you ever witnessed someone abuse their power and wondered if speaking up would even matter? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because stories like this aren't just about what happened. They're about what we're willing to accept and what we refuse to let slide.